Inbound lead gen. Best practices for success. Why inbound feels great until it doesn't. Inbound lead gen is the part of the funnel that feels effortless when it's humming. Demo requests arrive, content downloads stack up, and meetings get booked without your team living on the phone. The problem is that inbound often becomes a passive inbox instead of an operational revenue channel. When that happens, you get slow follow-up, inconsistent qualification, and a CRM full of leads nobody trusts. In B2B, inbound doesn't fail because buyers stopped researching. It fails because teams don't run it with the same discipline they apply to outbound. Marketing celebrates volume, sales complains about quality, and the most important moment in the entire process, the first response, gets treated like an afterthought. If you want inbound to produce predictable pipeline, you have to engineer it end-to-end. Capture, routing, speed, qualification, nurturing, and measurement. In this guide, we'll focus on the practical levers that move revenue, increasing conversion without gimmicks, responding while intent is highest, and building an SDR workflow that turns interest into meetings. We'll also cover how an outsourced sales team can stabilize execution when internal bandwidth is stretched, without turning inbound into a spammy experience. Done right, inbound becomes a compounding asset instead of a monthly guessing game. Inbound versus outbound. What intent really means. In sales terms, outbound is when you initiate contact, cold email, LinkedIn outreach, cold calling services, and inbound is when the buyer raises their hand, demo request, chat, pricing page engagement, content download. The key difference isn't just who starts, it's where the buyer is in their decision process. Inbound leads typically arrive with context, urgency, and a problem they're actively trying to solve. Modern buyers also control the pace of the journey. Research frequently shows B2B buyers consuming 3 to 7 pieces of content before engaging sales, which means your site and content are often selling long before a rep speaks to anyone. That's why inbound performance is tightly tied to relevance. If your content doesn't match the buyer's questions, you'll attract the wrong traffic or lose the right traffic. In 2025, buyer preferences make this even more pronounced. Many prospects want a rep-free buying experience and will actively avoid irrelevant outreach. The takeaway isn't "don't sell," it's "earn the conversation." A strong inbound system makes your first human touch helpful, fast, and personalized, which is where a good SDR agency, internal or outsourced, can make a measurable difference. Benchmarks that keep you honest and focused. Inbound is often cheaper and more scalable over time, but only if you measure it like a revenue channel. Many analyses put inbound leads at roughly 62% lower cost than outbound, while generating meaningfully more lead volume, an attractive economics profile if you can convert and qualify consistently. The trap is assuming more inbound automatically means more pipeline, when the real drivers are conversion rates, speed to lead, and meeting rate. Most B2B websites still convert only around 2 to 3% of visitors into leads on average, which is why small lifts matter. A 1-point gain, for example, 2% to 3%, can materially reduce CAC and increase pipeline from the same traffic. Instead of chasing vanity metrics, track the full path: visitor to lead, lead to meeting, meeting to opportunity, and opportunity to close. Use the table below as a reality check. Your exact numbers will vary by ACV, sales cycle, and offer, but the point is to establish a baseline and then improve the steps that compound. Design the capture layer: pages, CTAs, and forms. Most inbound underperforms because the website behaves like a brochure, not a conversion system. The fix is straightforward. Map pages to intent and give each intent a next step that feels natural. High-intent visitors need obvious paths to talk to sales: demo, pricing request, consultation, while mid and low-intent visitors need value-based offers: on-demand tour, comparison guide, benchmark report, that still move them closer to a sales conversation. Forms are where many teams accidentally tax their own conversion rate. The practical rule: Ask only what you truly need for routing and first call qualification. Then enrich the rest. For demo requests, keep it tight. Name, business email, company, role, plus 1 or 2 qualifying questions. For content downloads, go lighter and let scoring and nurture do the work. A common mistake is trying to filter out bad leads with long forms, which often filters out good leads instead. Another is burying the primary CTA under competing buttons and vague copy. Treat your highest traffic pages like sales assets. Clear CTA hierarchy, strong proof, and frictionless capture. Then let your sales development agency motion handle real qualification after the form fill. Inbound isn't a channel you have, it's a system you operate, measured by response time, qualification quality, and meetings booked. Operationalize Speed-to-Lead with SDR Workflows. Speed-to-Lead is the highest leverage inbound variable most teams underinvest in. Multiple studies show typical B2B response times stretching to roughly 42 to 47 hours, while contacting a new lead within 5 minutes can make you 8 to 21 times more likely to qualify or convert than waiting. In practice, that means your inbound problem is often an operations problem, not a traffic problem. Treat inbound like you would an urgent support queue. Define SLAs, automate routing, and create a simple, repeatable first-touch sequence across call, email, and calendar. Your SDR should know exactly what to do for each lead type: demo request versus pricing page visitor versus webinar attendee, and should log disposition data so marketing can improve targeting. This is also where many teams benefit from sales outsourcing, because coverage gaps, lunches, meetings, time zones, vacations quietly destroy response time. At SalesHive, we're known as a cold calling agency and cold email agency, but a big part of our work is turning inbound interest into qualified pipeline. Our SDR teams, US-based and Philippines-based, can call new inbound leads within minutes, run your qualification framework, and then layer in outbound sales agency tactics to re-engage no-shows or accelerate high-intent accounts. The goal is simple: the right rep talking to the right buyer at the moment intent is highest. Nurture, scoring, and sales marketing alignment. Not every inbound lead is ready today, but nearly every good lead is worth developing. Companies with strong lead nurturing have been shown to generate about 50% more sales-ready leads at roughly 33% lower cost, which is why nurture can't be an afterthought. A clean nurture strategy also protects your SDR time by separating ready now from not yet without discarding either. Lead scoring works best when it reflects real buying signals, not arbitrary point systems. Use a simple combination of fit, industry, size, role, and intent, demo request, pricing views, product pages, webinar attendance. Then validate it against closed-won data. Common mistakes here include scoring everything that moves, hiding scoring logic from sales, or letting MQL definitions drift until the term becomes meaningless. Alignment is non-negotiable because inbound is a shared pipeline. Research often finds tightly aligned sales and marketing teams generate more than 2 times the revenue impact from qualification efforts compared to siloed orgs. The practical fix is a recurring cadence. Review lead quality, agree on what good looks like, and update routing rules based on what actually converts. Then hold both teams accountable to the same downstream metrics. Optimization plays, content depth, intent signals, and blended outreach. Once the basics work, optimization is about compounding small wins. Start with content that answers late-stage questions, comparisons, implementation timelines, pricing FAQs, ROI narratives, and technical readiness. If buyers are consuming 3 to 7 assets before they talk to sales, your job is to make sure those assets pull them toward a clear next step instead of leaving them stuck in research mode. Next, use intent signals to prioritize human effort. High-intent actions, demo requests, repeated pricing visits, return sessions from the same company deserve immediate calls. Low-intent actions, top-of-funnel downloads, deserve smart nurture and selective follow-up. This is where an SDR agency with strong operations can outperform ad hoc internal coverage, because consistency, especially in calling and follow-up, is what turns interest into meetings booked. Finally, blend inbound and outbound deliberately. When the right account raises its hand, pairing inbound with targeted outreach, B2B cold calling, tailored emails, and light LinkedIn touches can accelerate decisions and reduce no-show rates. We see the best outcomes when SDRs treat inbound leads as warm starts, then use outbound techniques to drive a faster, cleaner path to a qualified meeting. Next steps: turn inbound into predictable pipeline. The fastest way to improve inbound is to stop thinking about it as marketing output and start treating it as a managed revenue process. Audit your last 30 to 60 days of inbound leads and answer 3 questions. How fast did we respond? How consistently did we follow up? And what percentage became meetings and opportunities? Those numbers will tell you exactly where the bottleneck lives. From there, lock in the fundamentals. Simplify capture, implement routing rules, set an SLA that matches buyer urgency, and standardize qualification so good lead means the same thing across teams. If you need coverage, consider a sales development agency model that supports both inbound and outbound, so you're not choosing between reacting to demand and creating it. This is also how many teams stabilize performance when inbound volume fluctuates month to month. If you want a practical operating target, aim to respond in minutes, not hours, and measure everything by downstream outcomes: meetings, opportunities, revenue. At SalesHive, our process is built around that discipline. Our SDRs blend inbound follow-up with outbound outreach, supported by data-backed personalization and list-building services, and we've booked 100,000-plus meetings for 1,500-plus clients. The objective isn't more leads, it's more qualified pipeline from the demand you already worked hard to earn.